Okay, lovely. So we're joined here today with Justin and Matthias. Thank you for joining our expo. Can you tell us about your project?
Yes. Our project is affectionately known as Mr. Kato. This is our multi-agent GenAI chatbot that is for medical students to practice their clinical skills and history taking.
Oh. So Mr. Kato speaks Japanese?
That's a good question. Natively, he speaks Japanese, but he also speaks English.
Okay.
And as we learned from students coming by today and practicing it, if you speak Spanish to Mr. Kato, he will understand that and respond back in English, which is a trick that we didn't know.
Back in English, okay. How has this been enhancing the learning in the classroom?
That's a great question. We are just about to pilot this with students next week, and we're going to learn about that. But our theory or our hypothesis is that this will help the students that are transitioning between year 2 and year 3. So there's a lot of anxiety when you're about to go talk to a live patient. And so what we're trying to simulate here is a patient encounter before you actually go in and speak to a real live patient.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine how this will prove to be helpful for those students.
I anticipate it.
Okay, good. So it's being piloted next week. So far, your I don't know, your presentations have what audience have you presented this in front of so far?
So we have quite a team. We've got clinical faculty as well as students that are working with us to create it. And so we will be using year 3 ophthalmology students to work through the case, and we'll do a bunch of different feedback approaches with them to try and figure out what they think about the usability of it, but also the impact of it as a tool on their learning experience.
Okay, great. Can I ask you, Matthias, how do you envision the students really engaging in this project? Like, what do you picture that as?
Yeah, I think, so basically as background, we're planning to embed our chatbot into an already existing online module. And from experience, I know that sometimes these online modules can be sometimes very tedious and unengaging. They're essentially just like PowerPoints, right? So our plan basically is, or what I'm envisioning is that students are more engaged when they go into these online modules, because it's not just about clicking buttons and reading, it's actually engaging with the patient, and you actually have the option to use your voice to dictate into the chat and basically talk to the patient. So I just envision it to be more engaging and to increase students' willingness to learn the material.
Okay. And I know it's being piloted, but has there been any challenges or barriers to this point with, say, it could be making the application or just in its format as it is now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So as a computer science student, I've been really heavily involved in the development of this application, and so I can speak to the challenges there for sure. Definitely like big props to the other development members on the team, as well as past co-op students. So I would say a big challenge is like learning on the fly, and a lot of the backend stuff that we're using with like ChatGPT is always changing. And so there's always new technology that we have to implement. So it's always a learning process for us as well. Figuring out how to use like all the new cool sort of like extensions and APIs. But other than that, I think just, having like the willingness to learn and fail and then, learn has been a really big experience for us.
Okay. Sounds great. I think my final, since it's for the Faculty of Medicine, then it's not for public consumption. But how how would those who are interested in maybe creating something like this, how would they get in contact with you or get in touch with you?
We do have a QR code that we'll share with you. But I think that moving forward, ideally, if the pilot goes well, we can envision adapting it to other cases. And potentially we could have a web interface where interested faculty could put their cases into it, and it would go to our attention, and then we could work with them to develop it into a learning experience for them.
Sounds amazing. So we'll share that QR code. You'll share that QR code with us. Thanks so much. Okay.